You didn't just stumble upon this message. It found you because your consciousness has been operating inside what quantum physicists describe as an observer loop, a repeating cycle where awareness keeps collapsing the same waves of probability into the same familiar outcomes, again and again. You've been generating identical versions of reality, wondering why life feels like it's echoing itself. And right now, as these words reach you, something inside you recognizes this. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet sense of déjà vu, reliving the same patterns, replaying the same conversations, watching the same disappointments return, wearing different faces. It's as if existence itself has become a broken record, looping the same verse until you finally notice the repetition. The fact that you're here in this exact moment is not random. It's synchronicity at its highest level. Your quantum field sending out a signal, searching for a frequency strong enough to disrupt the loop, and the universe responded by guiding you straight to this transmission. Out of millions of minds scrolling endlessly through noise, you felt the pull. You stopped. You felt resonance, because only a specific kind of consciousness, your kind, recognizes the vibration of these words. You've been selected by the field itself, because you carry what might be called the observer gene. This isn't fantasy or metaphor. It's the lived mechanics of quantum reality. Your consciousness doesn't merely witness the world, it constructs it. Through what science calls the observer effect, your attention shapes the field of potential into physical form. But here's what isn't often said. When your observer function becomes trapped in repetition, you don't just watch the same story unfold. You recreate it. Think about your own life. How often have you found yourself in the same conversation, playing the same emotional roles with new characters? How many times have similar situations repeated themselves across your relationships, your work, your days? This isn't bad luck or lack of growth. It's the evidence of consciousness caught in an observer loop, unconsciously choosing the same probability patterns again and again, from an infinite spectrum of possibilities. And lately, you may have noticed something else. Time itself feels strange. Some moments drag endlessly, while entire weeks vanish in a blur. This distortion isn't your imagination. It's a symptom of looping the sensation of forward motion while, in the quantum sense, you're standing still. Your friends, your family, they may not understand what you're feeling, because they operate within a different frequency band. They're content with linear time, predictable cause and effect, the safe rhythm of the known. But you've always sensed something beyond that reality is pliable, responsive, alive. You've had glimpses, haven't you? Moments when synchronicities cascaded through your life, like a cosmic orchestra playing a song only you could hear. Moments when you could almost touch the fabric of existence itself. This recognition you're feeling now isn't new, it's remembrance. Your soul has been preparing for this understanding across lifetimes, across dimensions, waiting for you to wake up to what it has always known. That you were never simply observing reality, you were the one creating it. Every book that drew you in, every practice that stirred something ancient within you, every flash of inexplicable knowing, they were all breadcrumbs, quietly guiding you toward this moment of realization, the awareness of the observer loop. But here's the paradox that either liberates you or keeps you trapped. Most people, once they realize they're stuck in a repeating reality pattern, make the same mistake. They try to think their way out of it. They believe that if they can understand the mechanics deeply enough, they can reprogram reality through intellect alone. But this is like trying to escape a maze by staring harder at the map instead of walking a new path. The observer loop isn't sustained by thought. It's sustained by the quality of your attention. Every morning when you wake, your consciousness automatically scans the field for the familiar, for the same emotional signatures, the same frequency coordinates that feel safe, predictable, and known. It's a kind of quantum autopilot, a Jeeps that keeps choosing the same destination, simply because it recognizes it, Your awareness has become addicted to familiarity, to the same emotional tones, the same energetic landscapes, the same vibrational architecture of experience. And the more you notice those patterns, the stronger they become. The stronger they become, the more your consciousness expects to find them again tomorrow. And so, it does. This is what quantum field theorists call a reality feedback loop. Your observation reinforcing the very conditions you wish to transcend. Your focus becomes the engine of repetition. Every glance back toward the familiar strengthens its grip, like gravity pulling you into orbit around your own history. But here's what's happening right now. As you read or hear these words, something unprecedented is shifting in your field. The simple act of recognizing the loop begins to dismantle its structure.
But where's she?
Awareness itself is the solvent. The moment you become conscious of the pattern, you create space between the observer and the observed. That space is freedom. This is why this message found you now, not earlier, not later, because you've reached the vibrational threshold, where breaking free is not just possible, it's inevitable. Your higher self orchestrated this exact intersection, a convergence point in your timeline, where remembrance becomes activation. You felt glimpses of this before, those strange, crystalline moments in conversation when you suddenly realize, I've said these exact words before, not just similar.
Exact.
The same tone, the same phrasing, the same ending. Most dismiss it as déjà vu, but deep down, you know it's more. You've been witnessing what quantum consciousness researchers call temporal echoes. Flashes in which your awareness momentarily sees through the cyclical structure of your observer loop. It's not imagination. It's not glitching neurons. It's evidence that you're operating at a frequency most people can't yet perceive, a frequency where time folds back on itself, revealing the pattern beneath the illusion of progress. That sensitivity you've noticed, the heightened awareness of energy, the ability to sense distortion in reality itself. That's what we call quantum sensitivity. It's not a flaw or a burden. It's evolution. It's proof that your consciousness is beginning to outgrow the loop entirely. You've begun developing something extraordinary, the ability to perceive the hidden architecture behind manifestation itself. That sensitivity you've noticed, the subtle awareness of patterns weaving through your life, isn't imagination. It's your consciousness evolving to see the underlying code of creation. You've probably felt how strange time has become lately. Sometimes a single hour stretches into what feels like an entire day, filled with insights, downloads, and flashes of wisdom that seem to come from nowhere. Then suddenly, whole weeks vanish in a blur, leaving you wondering where they went. This temporal elasticity happens because your awareness is navigating multiple reality tracks at once, searching for the one that vibrates in perfect harmony with your most authentic frequency. And those moments of sudden, profound knowing, when you just know something about the universe that no book or teacher ever explained, those aren't coincidences. They're quantum memories leaking through from versions of you that already exist in parallel timelines. Versions who've long since broken free from their observer loops. Your consciousness has grown so advanced that it's now downloading information from your own future selves. Yet, that expansion often feels isolating, doesn't it? You try to describe these experiences to people close to you, and they stare back blankly, as if you're speaking another language. They're still perceiving through the old paradigm, one where reality is rigid, material, and unchangeable. But you've seen behind the curtain. You've realized that reality isn't solid at all. It's a living ocean of potential, and most people are drowning in it, unaware that they could simply decide to swim. That's why certain books seem to call your name from across a crowded shelf. Why particular videos appear in your feed at the exact moment you need them. Why you keep crossing paths with people who share your strange familiarity with multi-dimensional truths. You're not manifesting these synchronicities through wishful thinking. You're quantum entangled with a network of awakening souls, all breaking their own loops in unison. You are part of an interlinked web of consciousness, each node activating the others. Even your dreams have changed, haven't they? They've become more vivid, more symbolic, like in cryptid transmissions from another realm. That's exactly what they are. While you sleep, your higher self sends information packets across dimensions, showing you the contrast between your current timeline and the infinite alternatives available. Your conscious mind struggles to translate these transmissions, but your energy body understands them perfectly. And lately, even technology seems to respond to you differently. Your phone lights up with messages just as you think of someone. Your playlist delivers the exact song that mirrors your emotion. Your social feeds seem to reflect your inner world with uncanny precision. This isn't coincidence or algorithmic luck. It's quantum coherence in action. Your consciousness has become so finely tuned that it's beginning to influence the informational field around you. You're not just living in the field anymore. You're shaping it moment by moment with every thought, every emotion, every pulse of awareness, everything you've lived through, every disappointment, every repeated pattern, every moment that felt like regression instead of progress has been sacred preparation for this moment of awakening. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Your consciousness needed to experience the observer loop from every possible angle to develop the quantum precision required to finally transcend it. Think of the butterfly inside its chrysalis. From the outside, it looks trapped, struggling, dissolving into chaos. But inside that pressure, something miraculous is happening. The caterpillar isn't merely sprouting wings. Its entire biology is being rewritten. Its DNA reorganizes to express capabilities that were always encoded within it, yet dormant until the perfect moment of activation. What looks like suffering from one perspective is metamorphosis from another. Your painful relationships, your recurring frustrations. They were never punishments. They were quantum mirrors, reflecting back the observation patterns, keeping your consciousness in repetitive orbit. Every person who triggered you, every dynamic that replayed itself, was helping you pinpoint the exact frequency where your awareness got stuck. And every situation that felt like déjà vu was your higher self conducting a controlled experiment, helping you see the observer loop in action. That pressure you've been feeling, the urgency, the sense that something has to change soon, isn't anxiety. It's the unmistakable signal of phase transition. Your field is heating up, just like water approaching the threshold, where it becomes vapor. This tension, this sense of compression, means your consciousness is reaching the frequency where the observer loop can no longer hold. It's not falling apart. It's preparing to change state. Even your doubts have been essential. Every time you wondered if this path was real or just another illusion, you were strengthening your ability to discern truth from projection. You were refining your quantum sensitivity, the inner calibration that distinguishes genuine expansion from spiritual escapism. Your consciousness had to become extraordinarily precise before it could navigate this transition safely. That's why the waiting felt unbearable at times. You could feel the shift coming, but you couldn't force it, because transformation at this level doesn't happen through willpower. It happens through alignment, through the exact synchronization of readiness, resonance, and remembrance. You're arriving at that point now, the frequency where the loop dissolves, the moment when everything you've endured reveals itself for what it truly was. Training for transcendence, breaking free from the observer loop, has nothing to do with effort, willpower, or mental control. It's not about pushing harder. It's about reaching a level of energetic coherence where your attention begins to naturally select new probability waves from the quantum field. When coherence stabilizes, change becomes effortless because your consciousness stops looping through old data and starts tuning into higher-order frequencies of potential. Your soul chose this lifetime precisely for this. You incarnated at a moment in human evolution when the observer loop would be discovered, and understood when science and spirituality would finally converge. You volunteered to be part of the first wave of human consciousness, to transcend limitation patterns and anchor new possibilities for the collective. Every moment of struggle has been training for this responsibility, strengthening your capacity to hold light, to stabilize truth, and to translate higher frequencies into lived experience. And right now, something inside you is responding. Can you feel it? That subtle vibration building in your field, like a tuning fork struck by cosmic resonance. Your consciousness is beginning to hum at a frequency that no longer fits your old reality. And the friction between them is creating what physicists might call reality turbulence. The turbulence is not chaos. It's confirmation. It means the loop is destabilizing. The familiar patterns that used to magnetize your attention are losing their power, and the field is reorganizing itself around your expanded awareness. You're entering the breakthrough phase, the most delicate, powerful part of the entire transformation process. But here's where many people go wrong. They feel this surge of energy and immediately try to direct it outwards to fix their relationships, to change their finances, to rearrange their external world. Yet the observer loop doesn't dissolve by changing what you observe. It dissolves by transforming how you observe. The liberation happens not in the scene, but in the seer. Right now, your consciousness is downloading new protocols, new ways of interfacing with the quantum field. These aren't lessons to study or concepts to memorize. They're energetic upgrades integrating directly into your biology. Your very DNA is reorganizing to support this new mode of perception. That's why you may notice physical sensations you can't explain, shifts in appetite, sleep cycles, or sudden changes in what environments feel resonant. Your body is reconfiguring to host a higher bandwidth of awareness. The most powerful thing you can do in this stage is feel without controlling. Let the energy move. Allow it to carve new pathways through your system, the way water sculpts a riverbed patiently, precisely, without effort. Your task is not to manage this evolution, but to become transparent to it. Offer no resistance to the reorganization already in motion. Trust the intelligence moving through you. It knows exactly what it's doing. Your only responsibility is to stay present, open, and aware as the old circuitry dissolves and a new configuration of consciousness comes online. This right here is the threshold where everything begins to shift. But it's also the moment when many people unconsciously pull themselves back into the old loops. They feel the magnitude of the unknown pressing in and retreat to the familiar, even if that familiarity has been painful. Don't let that be you. What's happening right now is unprecedented in human history. You are witnessing your own consciousness evolve in real time. The energy moving through you is not random or chaotic. It's intelligent, deliberate, and deeply personal. Stay with it as we go deeper into the mechanics of how the observer loop actually operates. Because once you truly see how your attention has been trapped, you'll never again unconsciously feed the patterns that confined you. Let me share something personal, something I haven't shared before, because I know you'll understand in a way most people couldn't. 3 years ago, I was caught in the most sophisticated observer loop I'd ever experienced. On the surface, I was doing everything right. I thought I was awakened, quantum aware, fully conscious of how reality works. But what I couldn't see then was that I had built a more elegant prison, one made of spiritual knowledge and mental precision. Every morning, I woke up and immediately began scanning my world for signs of progress, searching for proof that my manifestation techniques were working, that my vibration was rising, that I was becoming the person I was meant to be. But that very act of constant monitoring froze everything in place. The harder I looked for change, the more I solidified the same structures I wanted to transcend. Every search for evidence became a vote for the old reality. I remember the exact moment the realization hit me. I was sitting in my meditation space, frustrated, and exhausted, staring at the same repeating issues despite years of inner work. And in that stillness, something clicked, a subtle but undeniable recognition. My observation itself was the trap. I had been so focused on measuring my evolution that I wasn't allowing it to unfold. I was trying to witness transformation instead of embodying it. That's when everything began to change. Not because I found a new technique, but because I stopped trying to make evolution happen and finally allowed it to. And then, in an instant, it hit me like lightning. I wasn't witnessing my reality. I was manufacturing it through the specific way I was observing it. My consciousness had become a record player, the needle worn into a single groove, replaying the same song of reality over and over, and no amount of meditation, affirmation, or spiritual discipline could help me hear a new melody until I lifted the needle. The breakthrough came when I stopped trying to observe my way out of the loop and began observing the observer itself. I started watching how my attention moved where it stuck, what emotional tones it repeated, which thought patterns it gravitated toward by default. This shift into meta-awareness, watching awareness, completely changed the relationship I had with consciousness itself. For the first time, I understood why some people seem to flow effortlessly from one beautiful reality to the next, while others keep reliving the same patterns. Despite their best efforts, it has nothing to do with luck, worthiness, or even karma. It comes down to the mechanics of how consciousness interacts with the quantum field. That single realization changed everything. My relationships began transforming almost overnight. Not because others changed, but because I stopped unconsciously selecting the same emotional frequencies that recreated the same dynamics. My creative flow opened up because my attention no longer magnetized familiar obstacles. Even my body began to heal as my cells started receiving new data instead of the same old stress signals repeating in a loop. But the most profound shift wasn't personal. It was the recognition that I was not alone in this. There is an entire network of souls across the planet working on the same process, each breaking their own observer loops, each sending ripples of coherence through the field. We've been finding one another, almost by magnetic pull, sharing insights, confirming experiences, and collectively stabilizing a new level of awareness for humanity. If something deep within you is resonating right now, if you feel a quiet activation, a familiar hum in your cells, it's because you're part of that network. 2. You've been preparing for this realization your entire life, whether you knew it or not. So don't just subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this frequency. Align yourself with the wavelength of evolution that's sweeping through our planet right now. Because you're not just watching consciousness evolve. You are that evolution, remembering itself. What most so-called quantum consciousness experts never tell you, because few of them truly understand it, is the crucial difference between knowing about the observer effect and embodying it. You can memorize every principle, quote, every teacher, analyze every equation about manifestation, and still remain caught in the same repeating loop, because knowledge and wisdom operate in entirely different dimensions of reality. Here's the truth that shatters most of the popular teachings. Your thoughts do not create your reality. Even your attention, by itself, does not create your reality. Reality arises from the quality of coherence between your consciousness and the quantum field. That coherence can't be forced, faked, or built through positive thinking. It happens naturally when your awareness becomes fluid, when the observer stops trying to control and starts allowing. Most people use consciousness like a searchlight, narrow, intense, always hunting for something specific. But quantum awareness behaves more like sunlight, diffused, effortless, illuminating everything at once. When you shift from the searchlight to the sunlight, your perception relaxes, your energy opens, and suddenly you stop collapsing. The same probability waves into the same old story. The observer loop keeps you trapped, because it makes your consciousness predictable to the field. Each morning, if your awareness immediately looks for the familiar, checking your phone for the same messages, thinking the same thoughts, expecting the same kind of day, you're simply ordering the same meal from the cosmic menu. But here's the part that will rewrite how you think about creation. The quantum field wants to give you something new. It's overflowing with infinite possibilities, constantly pressing against the edges of your awareness, waiting for a gap, any opening to enter. It's not the universe that resists. It's your own habitual attention that keeps reinforcing yesterday's code. You're not stuck because life is unfair, or because the universe is ignoring you. You're stuck because your consciousness has become too habitual in how it interacts with potential, the most advanced beings. Those who move through reality as if it bends around them and don't try to control life. They dance with it. They maintain what could be called coherent uncertainty, a state of deep presence without attachment, of open expectation without demand. In this state, they respond to life rather than react to it. Their fluid awareness allows new possibilities to flow through them effortlessly. That's the secret behind those who seem to live charmed lives. It's not luck. It's not privilege. It's not cosmic favoritism. It's simply the result of sustained coherence between their consciousness and the creative force that animates existence itself. When you begin to master coherence, the changes ripple far beyond your own life. You don't just shift your personal reality. You become a catalyst for transformation in the field itself. Your presence starts creating what can only be described as quantum openings. Brief moments when other people's observer loops loosen their grip, allowing them to glimpse their own infinite potential. This is the quantum shift unfolding in real time. And as your consciousness upgrades, there are clear signs that reveal your observer loop is dissolving. The first sign is synchronicity acceleration. Meaningful coincidences become too precise, too frequent, too impossible to dismiss as chance. It's not just the universe sending hints anymore. It's rearranging itself around your awareness, bending probability to confirm that you're no longer trapped in the same feedback pattern. Pay close attention to how nature responds to you, especially animals and birds. When your field begins vibrating outside the density of the loop, your frequency changes and wildlife senses it instantly. If you've been noticing more eye contact with birds, unexpected animal encounters, or your pets acting with unusual awareness around you, these are not random moments. They're reflections of resonance, confirmation that your quantum field is broadcasting a new signal. Technology often mirrors this shift. 2. You might notice electronic glitches, lights flickering, apps freezing, or the exact opposite. Everything working with uncanny precision. Your phone rings the moment you think of someone. Your playlists queue up the perfect song. Your computer crashes when you attempt to engage with content that no longer matches your frequency. This is not coincidence. It's consciousness interfacing with electromagnetism. Technology is sensitive to coherence, and as your frequency refines, it begins to sync or desync accordingly. The most profound sign, though, is the way time feels. Linear time. The sense of past, present, and future is a construct stabilized by observer loops. As you slip free from repetition, you begin touching what mystics have long called the eternal now. Minutes stretch wide with depth and meaning when you're fully present, yet entire days can pass unnoticed because you're no longer bound to sequential time. You're moving through multiple temporal dimensions simultaneously, the way light travels through both wave and particle states. Your sleep patterns are evolving. 2. You may need less rest. or wake from dreams that feel vividly encoded with meaning. Some nights, it feels like you're receiving data direct downloads from higher dimensions. That's exactly what's happening. Your consciousness is no longer confined to the narrow frequency band of your old observer loop. You're accessing wisdom from parallel timelines and higher vantage points of awareness. All of these experiences are signs of expansion. You're not losing touch with reality. You're merging with a larger one. And in that merging, you're helping the entire collective field remember its own limitless potential. People have begun responding to you differently, haven't they? Even without changing your words, tone, or behavior. Something in your field has shifted, and others can feel it. Some may grow uneasy around you, unable to explain why. That discomfort isn't about you. It's the sensation of their own observer loops destabilizing in your presence. Others, though, are magnetized, drawn to the sense of freedom you now embody. They can feel the possibility vibrating through you, even if they can't name it. But here's what's vital to understand. The waiting season is over. The cosmic window for mass liberation from observer loops is closing. This isn't fear-based urgency. It's physics. Consciousness evolves in waves. And right now, we are riding the crest of one so immense, it will not pass this way again for generations. Your higher self has been orchestrating every encounter, every delay, every revelation to bring you to this exact intersection of time and awareness. Because what's available to you now, this level of transformation, will not be available in the same form a year from now. The collective field is approaching critical mass. Humanity stands at a fork in the quantum timeline. One path leading toward expansion and coherence, the other into deeper entrenchment within old limitations. You can see it everywhere. Global unrest, systems unraveling, chaos rising. These are not random. They are signs of the planet's collective observer loop destabilizing. Some are waking up faster than ever. Others are slipping further into unconscious repetition. The middle ground is collapsing. Neutrality is no longer sustainable because the field itself is demanding evolution. Consciousness must choose. That's why you feel the urgency. That's why these words resonate so deeply, even when they challenge everything you thought you understood about reality. Your soul knows what your mind is just beginning to remember. This moment right now is the convergence point where freedom becomes inevitable. What you want, truly want, wants you just as powerfully. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the fundamental truth of quantum reciprocity. Every dream, every vision that stirs your heart is not fantasy. It's a probability wave calling to you, seeking collapse into form through your awareness. But those potentials can't reach you while your attention remains locked in the old frequency bands of the observer loop. Here's the paradox. The desires that feel the most impossible are often the ones closest to manifestation. They seem out of reach only because they exist on a timeline your current patterns can't yet perceive. You're one frequency shift away from living them as ordinary reality. And this is where everything changes in the understanding that alignment is not the same as attraction. Attraction attempts to pull what you want toward you, which only reinforces the illusion of separation. Alignment, on the other hand, dissolves the distance altogether. It reveals that you and your desires were never apart, only vibrating at different levels of coherence. When you move into alignment, you don't chase, you remember, and in that remembrance, the impossible stops being a dream. It becomes the most natural expression of who you've been all along. True alignment begins the moment you realize that what you desire has never been separate from you. It is not something outside of you waiting to be reached. It is another expression of your own consciousness, and experiencing itself across parallel realities. When this recognition moves from theory to embodiment, the observer loop dissolves, because there is no longer a you observing reality from a distance. There is only awareness merging with its own creation. This is why forcing, striving, and trying harder always seem to push your dreams further away. Every time you look at your current experience through the lens of lack, you are unconsciously selecting that version of reality from the field of infinite possibilities. Every time you check to see if your manifestation is working, you reaffirm the separation that keeps it out of reach. The quantum field doesn't respond to effort. It responds to coherence, to the harmony between your intention, your attention, and your energy. When these align perfectly, reality doesn't need to be manipulated. It reorganizes itself to match your vibration. You don't force outcomes. You become the space through which they occur naturally. Right now, as these words move through you, something extraordinary is happening. Your field is recalibrating. The distance between you and your highest timeline is collapsing. Not because you're striving, but because you've stopped doing the very things that kept the separation alive. The moment you stop trying to reach your future rushes toward you. Take a breath and anchor this awareness. In the comments, make a declaration that seals this frequency into form. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Nothing more. No explanation. No justification. Just that truth. This isn't for engagement. It's an act of quantum entanglement. A conscious agreement between your awareness and the version of reality where your fullest potential already exists. When you make this declaration with genuine recognition, you're not writing words. You're broadcasting a signal. You're announcing to the universe that the loop has dissolved, that your consciousness is free to choose from possibilities that once hid beyond your perceptual range. And with that freedom come new capacities that older paradigms could only call superhuman. Your intuition sharpens until you can sense outcomes before they unfold. Not through prediction, but through resonance with the field of emerging probability, you begin to experience reality fluidity, the ability to move between timelines with conscious intention. This isn't fantasy. It's what happens when awareness becomes so coherent that it no longer obeys limitation. You are not waiting for miracles anymore. You've become the frequency through which miracles move. This is the moment when reality itself begins to respond differently to you. When coherence becomes your baseline, you gain the ability to step between timelines, not through force or fantasy, but through the subtle art of shifting the quality of your observation. You'll start to notice small miracles everywhere. Traffic lights turn green as you arrive. Parking spaces open exactly where you need them. Conversations unfold with perfect synchronicity, leading to outcomes that serve everyone involved. These aren't coincidences. They're the quantum field mirroring your new frequency of ease and alignment. Your creativity, too, begins to surge because your mind is no longer looping through recycled ideas. It becomes a clear receiver for original information streaming from the unified field. Thoughts arise that have never existed before. Solutions download themselves into your awareness the instant they're needed. Your projects flow effortlessly, and the results carry a depth and brilliance that feels beyond anything you've ever created. Even the people around you begin to sense it. They respond as if you've become someone entirely new, though you haven't changed your words or behavior. What's shifted is your energy signature. You're no longer unconsciously reenacting the same relational dynamics. Your coherence gives others permission to drop their masks and meet you from authenticity rather than pattern. Your presence becomes a stabilizing force that recalibrates the energy of every room you walk into. Meanwhile, your physical body begins to transform in ways that defy logic. Long-standing imbalances and chronic conditions start to dissolve, not through external treatment, but because your cells are finally receiving new information. Instead of looping stress responses, your energy stabilizes at a higher baseline. You feel lighter, clearer, more alive, because your life force is no longer being siphoned by repetitive thought and emotional cycles. The observer effect. Once the mechanism of your limitation now becomes the engine of your liberation. Every time you witness your reality, you're automatically selecting more harmonious probabilities. Experiences infused with beauty, alignment, and grace. Your very presence becomes a field of coherence that blesses everything it touches. Opportunities, ideas, and resources begin to flow toward you naturally, not because you've mastered some new manifestation technique, but because you've stopped unconsciously choosing scarcity. Your consciousness, freed from the old observer loops, naturally gravitates toward abundance, ease, and expansion. This is what happens when you stop trying to make reality respond to you and finally remember that you are reality. Awakening to its own limitless potential, relationships begin to flow with a grace that feels effortless. You're no longer attracting people who are lost in repetition. You're resonating with those who, like you, have stepped outside the gravitational pull of their old observer loops. Your connections start to feel lighter, more authentic, deeply fulfilling. Your social world reorganizes itself naturally, drawing in souls who mirror your expansion and meet you at the frequency of evolution rather than bond survival. But perhaps the most profound transformation isn't in what surrounds you. It's in how you feel within yourself. You stop striving. You stop chasing. You no longer feel like you're on your way to becoming something greater, because you finally realize you're already there. You've always been that version of yourself, the one you once imagined. You were simply perceiving through patterns that distorted that truth. And in that realization, a peace arises that words can barely hold a peace. Not built on belief or hope, but on direct, embodied knowing. Coherence is the supreme creative force in the universe. It cannot be faked, forced, or fabricated. When every layer of your being, thought, emotion, energy, and awareness vibrates in perfect harmony, the quantum field responds instantly and absolutely. You become a gravitational center around which reality reorganizes itself. This is the ultimate key. The mechanism that dissolves every observer loop for good. But here's what most people miss. True coherence isn't about forcing agreement within yourself. It's about ending the fragmentation of your attention across competing timelines. Right now, a portion of your awareness may still be fixated on who you once were. Another piece may be projecting into possible futures, and only a fraction remains fully here. In this precise moment, that scattered attention is what keeps loops alive. When your consciousness is diluted across past, future, and present simultaneously, it splits into incompatible frequencies that produce mixed realities. Some aspects of life feel miraculous, while others remain stubbornly unchanged. Some days flow effortlessly, while others feel heavy and uncertain. This inconsistency isn't punishment or divine testing. It's simply physics. The quantum field can only reflect coherence to coherent consciousness. When awareness is fractured across multiple timelines, the signal you broadcast becomes unstable, and reality mirrors that instability back to create true, lasting coherence. Mystics and advanced consciousness researchers alike speak of a process called timeline consolidation, the art of gathering all aspects of your awareness past, future, and parallel into full presence within the eternal now. When you do this, when your entire being operates from a single point of focus, you no longer oscillate between timelines. You stabilize one, the highest one, and from that unified frequency, reality itself must respond in kind. The process of timeline consolidation is the art of withdrawing your attention from every alternate version of yourself, every possible reality track, except the one that represents your highest potential. This isn't visualization, and it's not imagination. It's a literal dimensional shift. You're no longer feeding energy to timelines that don't serve your evolution. Embodiment begins the moment you stop trying to become coherent and recognize that you already are coherent at your core. Your essential consciousness has never been fragmented. Only your attention was conditioned to focus on fragmented experiences. When you wrest awareness back into its natural unified state, coherence stops being something you strive for. It becomes something you remember. This is why effort always fails. Every attempt to fix or improve your life comes from the false assumption that you're separate from what you desire. That assumption itself is what keeps separation alive. True coherence emerges not through effort, but through relaxation, through surrendering into the innate harmony that has been there all along. When you embody this frequency, you stop having a personal reality and become a focal point through which the universe experiences itself. Your life ceases to be a problem-solving mission and transforms into an art form, a living expression of cosmic creativity unfolding through you. This shift in identity is what dissolves the observer loop permanently. There's no longer a separate you who can be trapped, because the distinction between observer and observed has vanished. The highest timeline isn't just an upgraded version of your current life. It's a completely different dimensional state, where the very laws of limitation no longer apply. When coherence stabilizes, you don't fix circumstances. You transcend the framework in which problems and solutions exist. And this isn't happening to you alone. Across the planet, thousands are stepping into this same realization. We are not merely breaking our individual observer loops. We are collectively dissolving the limitation matrix that has defined human consciousness for millennia. Your personal awakening is a vital part of a species-wide evolutionary leap that's redefining what it means to be human. You chose to incarnate at this precise point in history because Earth herself is undergoing the same transformation, breaking free from a global observer loop that has kept humanity recycling patterns of conflict, scarcity, and separation for ages. Each time one person remembers their coherence, it ripples through the collective field. Quantum theorists call this morphic resonance, the phenomenon, where a single breakthrough makes it easier for countless others to achieve the same. Your inner work is not isolation. It's participation in a planetary shift. You're not merely transforming your personal story. You're anchoring a new template of possibility into the human field, one that future generations will inherit effortlessly. The children being born now will come equipped with consciousness abilities that appear miraculous by today's standards. And that's because pioneers like you are dissolving the density that once bound evolution itself. Your willingness to question reality, to look beyond what you were taught to accept, is literally changing the trajectory of human consciousness. You are not a passive witness to evolution. You are one of its architects. This is why you've been feeling that deep sense of responsibility lately. That urgency to not just understand these truths intellectually, but to embody them fully. Your soul chose this incarnation deliberately. You agreed to be part of the first wave of humans, to transcend the observer loop, to become living evidence of what's possible when consciousness operates from coherence instead of limitation. You're not simply seeking personal freedom. You are serving as a bridge between paradigms, the old world built on fragmentation and the emerging one built on unity, resonance, and creative intelligence. The synchronicities that guided you here are not random. They are part of a vast orchestration involving millions of awakening souls across the planet, all entangled in the same field of remembrance. We are finding one another through quantum connection, exchanging frequencies, insights, and codes that accelerate the collective awakening. Every moment of recognition you experience doesn't just lift you. It strengthens the entire global network of consciousness evolution. Here's the most profound truth. When you break free from your observer loop, you don't just alter your personal reality, You create openings in the collective field itself. Through those openings, new possibilities enter humanity's shared experience. Your liberation contributes directly to our liberation, because at the quantum level, all consciousness is interconnected. This is also why resistance can feel so intense at times. It's not only your ego clinging to what's familiar, it's the entire limitation matrix, recognizing that its reign is ending. Each individual who dissolves their observer loop weakens the collective architecture of struggle, scarcity, and separation that has defined human history. So, share these frequencies with others, who resonate not to persuade or convert, but to help them remember what they already know deep within. Because the more people who awaken to their true nature as conscious creators, as participants, not victims, of the universe, the faster this global transformation unfolds. Your awakening is not personal development, it's species evolution. You are participating in the emergence of a new humanity, one that functions from coherence instead of fear, unity instead of division, and creative partnership with the universe instead of resistance to it. This is the dawn of the next evolutionary phase of consciousness, and you, by simply remembering who you are helping midwife the birth of an entirely new world. If these words don't just sound true, but feel true, if something ancient in your consciousness stirs with recognition, then it's time to make a single, powerful commitment. In the comments below, write just one word: coherent. Nothing else. No explanation. No embellishment. This isn't engagement for the algorithm. It's a quantum declaration. When you write that word with real intention, you're not typing letters on a screen. You're signaling the field itself. You're aligning your consciousness with the frequency that dissolves every observer loop permanently. Each declaration strengthens the morphic field that connects us all. Every person who anchors this frequency amplifies it for thousands of others who are ready to awaken. We're not merely building a community. We're anchoring a new planetary template, a field of coherence that makes transformation easier, faster, and more accessible for every soul that's ready to remember. But understand this: breaking the observer loop is only the beginning. It's the first threshold into a completely new way of existing. Once your consciousness learns to operate from coherence rather than limitation, you unlock abilities that the old paradigm considered impossible. In the next transmission, I'll show you how to develop what we call quantum navigation, the ability to move consciously between different probability tracks, selecting the outcomes that resonate most with your higher timeline. You'll see why some people seem to live charmed lives, where everything unfolds effortlessly, while others struggle despite all their effort. It has nothing to do with luck or worthiness. It's about learning to interface with the quantum field deliberately, to choose which version of reality you experience, moment by moment. This isn't philosophy or theory. It's practical mastery, the operating system of consciousness itself. But this level of understanding can only be shared with those who have already freed themselves from the looping patterns of limitation. If you've reached this point, you're ready. So subscribe and activate notifications, not just to catch another video, but to align with a frequency of evolution that's sweeping across the planet right now. Every subscriber becomes part of a living quantum network, a resonance field that accelerates awakening through shared coherence. The old paradigm is dissolving, with or without conscious participation. The only question is, will you be one of the pioneers, helping to birth the new world, or someone who awakens later, after the miracle has already unfolded? Your future self already lives in full coherence with infinite possibilities. The only question that remains is, how quickly will your present self remember? Make the declaration, join the frequency. Let's transcend the limitation patterns that have kept humanity small for far too long. The universe has waited patiently for this moment, and today, that waiting ends.